Okay, good afternoon, everybody. This is our lunch wrap, and we want to look at 2 Samuel and learn something from that book. We got Asa here. It's great to have Asa and visiting us from Fort Myers, Florida. Brandon over here, Pastor Tom. Good group. This Saturday there will be a couple carloads going to Pittsburgh for soul winning. I think the Asians are going down there. Do you go on Friday or Saturday? Saturday and come back. And then Pastor Matt is going to be preaching in Pastor Metcalf's church Sunday morning. That's great. And we'll have a good weekend tonight. Also, we'll have here our service and look forward to that. The Spirit is doing something with David in 2 Samuel. David is the one that's going to become king. And so for that to happen, there's been a process going on here. And one way to eliminate the one king happened. That one way was for him to die. So David is going to be filling a vacuum. So Saul has died in battle at the end of 1 Samuel. And then you see David gradually becoming the favored leader. And we see his heart towards God and towards the fallen. That was Saul, and then his son, Jonathan. Because Jonathan would be the heir, but Jonathan dies also. It's interesting, if you back up a couple chapters to 1 Samuel 29, you see that David was going to go to war against Israel and against Saul with the Philistines, because he had joined with the Philistines. It was a maneuver he had that he would escape Saul's searching for him and his hunt for David. And David was kind of hiding in the enemy camp with the Philistines. And in chapter 29, when the Philistines are going to go to war with King Saul, David was going to go with them. But it was the Philistines that said, no, we don't trust him, that he can't go with us. And so the king, Achish, I don't know how we say his name, Achish, the king, the Philistines said to David, the other lords, the princes don't trust you, so you can't go with us. In a way, it was putting David on a back shelf where it was safer. And then the Philistines went out to battle and they killed Saul and Jonathan. Now there's a vacancy, and that's when David comes back to Israel, and he's in Hebron, and that's when the tribe of Judah honors him as their king. Now the other tribes are slow in taking David. There's a bit of a turf war that goes on in these chapters in 2 Samuel. Chapters 2 and 3, 4, and 5, which I've been reading this morning, and I really enjoy feeling it and thinking about what's going on and how the house of David is increasing and the house of Saul is decreasing. That's in 3:1, I believe. Now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. Why is there? Because people are like that. They have loyalty, and there were people that were loyal to the house of Saul. But actually, this wasn't about. This was deeper. This was God's will. And what did God want? But he wanted David. He had already anointed David to be king, and God wanted David to be the king. But it was working with people. It isn't always clear to us like who should I follow, to what degree. And there's a couple of characters in the story. Abner is one of them who switches sides. And the reading about that is fascinating. And then there was the assassination of one of Saul's sons, Ishbosheth. He's murdered in bed in chapter 4. And that opens up the way more clearly that David should be the king for all the tribes of Israel. And so, there's a process going on. I don't know why it's interesting to me, but it is. I mean, I would like to follow the story with David in mind and thinking about God honoring him and God recognizing what was in David's heart. Is power in David's heart? And the answer would be no. We don't get that impression from his life. He is not attacking King Saul. He is not wanting to murder him or destroy him. When he cut his robe, his heart smote him. David is more of a man of God and wasn't that kind of situational kind of guy looking for opportunity. So he is king in Hebron for 7 years. And Judah has honored him as their king. But 7 years is actually a long time for the others to get on board and for him to be honored. And so he was king for a total of 40 years. So 7 years for Judah, 33 for the whole nation. And how it happens. And generals fighting with each other. There was Joab, who, when you read this text, these chapters, you see that Joab was not such a great guy, that he murdered Abner. David was heartbroken by it because Abner had switched sides, and he had come with David, left Ishbosheth, left the house of Saul, was reinforcing David, and when he was murdered by Joab, unfairly, he hugged him and smote him under the fifth rib, and he died. So, in retaliation for that, with what happened in that fascinating story about Abner and Ashel, who was running after Abner, remember? In the rear of the spear, Abner said, turn aside, another way of saying, like don't run after me. Don't come after me. I'm not picking a fight with you. Turn aside, go, stop it. But Ashel didn't stop, and Abner did some kind of a move. His spear, the rear end of his spear, went through Ashel's body. He died, and his body was left there. And Abner is basically saying, I told you so, or even turn aside and take weapons, and I can fight you fairly, or however it was. That story is in here too, which is fascinating, So you could call this a civil war. There's a civil war going on between the house of Saul. Even though Saul has died and his son Jonathan has died, there's still a war that's going on between the two sides until David is recognized and seen to be the one that's to be the king over Israel. So, what can we glean from that spiritually? I read in it a lot about God. I read in it about the sovereignty of God. I read in it the providence of God. I see in it the hand of God. And David didn't really worry about it. It seems that he was kind of detached from it. He's saying more or less, if somebody wants to be with me, they can be with me. If they don't want to be, they don't have to be with me. But I'm not looking for something here. I'm more like walking in my heart before God, and God is honoring him in these chapters 6, 7, 8, and his confidence comes out when they bring the ark up to the city. You know, he solidifies his government. He wants the ark to come into Jerusalem, and he's dancing before the ark. Now, who's in the window looking out at him? Yeah, Saul's daughter, Michal, right? Chapter 6. Verse 16, and the ark of the Lord came into the city of David. Now, how do you remember the ark coming into the city? Do you remember some of the detail about that? And that a man died bringing the ark in. You know the story. The oxen stumbled. The ark might fall off the cart. Uzzah steadies it. Uzzah drops dead. The problem, I feel, isn't that Uzzah touched it as much as it is that the method of bringing the ark into the city was essentially wrong. It was on a cart. It should be carried on the shoulders of the priests, and should be carried in personally with God and man joined together, not a cart. And the cart, I remember our guest speaker that was here, David Lamb. We asked him this question, and he said it was like putting the ark in the trunk of a car in a dishonorable way, like putting a person in the trunk. We don't have enough seats for you, so you can ride in the trunk. Putting God in the trunk of the car was like disrespectful. But when so it says David feared God because Uzzah died. And that's a good thing. Like, I would like to see God in such a way that it produces fear in me. I want the fear of God in my life. I want to have a lot of respect for God in my life. And read that in the scripture. Like, don't fool around with God. Don't fool around and just tempt the Lord, or not have a lot of respect for him. Because when David became the king and this happened, he did stop and put the brakes on. And he did stop. And the ark went to the house of Obed-Edom. And he thought that house would be cursed. Like he might have been, when they came and they said, the house of Obed-Edom is blessed. And David was glad to hear that. Oh, the ark is a blessing. Like, yes, it is. So handle it the right way. Handle the ark of God in the right way. We could say handle God's people in the right way. We could say handle the church of God in the right way. Handle the Bible in the right way. Like, be respectful of the Bible. Handle the Bible with humility and worship and prayer. And come before God. And I read a story today about in Stephentown, New York, New Lebanon, New York. Anybody remember New Lebanon, New York? Oh, really? I remember driving through there, like near Albany somewhere. Yeah, New Lebanon, and that's where Charles Finney had a revival. North of there was another town, Stephentown, I think. And there was a man who was a chaplain in the Revolutionary War, because we're talking 1827. I mean, this is a long time ago, 200 years ago. And there was a man in the village who was a chaplain for the Revolutionary Army, George Washington's army. And he was in the town, but he became an infidel. He became an unbeliever. And he was a bad spirit in the town. And then people stopped going to church. And then there was problems with the little churches. There was a Presbyterian church and then another. But Charles Finney was invited by a couple of women, praying women, to come to the town. And he prayed about it, and God told him to go there. And he started to go there. And God started to move and fill the schoolhouse with people. People started getting saved. And this infidel man is still walking around town, like ridiculing and mocking and so on. And then it said he suddenly died a horrible death. And the revival went on, you know. Like, that's an interesting story. Maybe I can find it because I read it this morning. Maybe I could share that. It's fascinating. Fearing God, people dying, real stuff. So David hears about Obed-Edom, and so he decides to bring the ark into the city the right way. As he does, he's dancing with joy. What happened? God's presence, the fullness of joy. So he goes from the fear of God, he goes to the joy and the celebration. But there's somebody up in the window, and it's Michal and his wife, who is not liking it. So she has another spirit. David has the Spirit of God, but this woman has another spirit. It's a critical spirit. And she despises David. She despises him. And be careful of that, like despising the people of God, despising the work of God, despising the revival of God. Huh? How about it? Isn't that good? I should preach about that tonight, maybe. What do you think? Why not? Sure. Did I get the approval? Okay. Let's go to chapter 16. And as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, Michal, Saul's daughter, looked through a window, saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. So that's a word study right there. She despised him in her heart. And they brought in the ark of the Lord and set it in his place in the midst of the tabernacle that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. Now, do you think that he knew up in the window his wife was this? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But I can tell you, when you are Spirit-filled, you have discernment. When you are Spirit-filled, you have like a new normal. And when people are outside of that normal, like despising, then you can recognize it more easily. David goes on in his ministry and service. As soon as David had made an end of offering burnt offerings and peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord. He dealt among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, as well to the women as men, every one a cake of bread, a good piece of flesh, a flagon of wine. So all the people departed, every one to his house. What is this called? Party time. What's this called? Rejoicing. What is this called? Celebration. What's it called? Convention. Eurocon. What's this called? It's like a big party, a feast. It's called like food, worship, praise, joy, love, ministry. Was it only for certain? It was for everybody. Bring them in off the street. Bring them into the house of God. Feed them. It's already prepared. It's already there. That was the Spirit of God. How about the prodigal son when he came home? What happened? Party time. making merry, kill the fatted calf, celebration, feasting. When we gather tonight for church, what is it? It's party time. It's fellowship. It's worship. It's break it out. Open the cafe. Let's go. Let's have fellowship. It's party time. It's God. God. David is king. God is in the city. Good things are happening. But there's that spirit there. The devil's spirit. The devil despises it. The devil mocks it. The devil is against it. There it is. That spirit will show up. The elder son spirit, he's standing out in the backyard. He's not coming in. He will not come in. The elder brother spirit, the despising thing. They don't want people to be blessed. We want people to be blessed. They don't want people to be blessed. We want people to be blessed. There it is. And so verse 19. Oh, we read it. 20. Then David returned to bless his household, and Michal, the daughter of Saul, came out to meet David. Of course she did. Of course she did. But she came out to meet David. What's in her heart? Of course she did. She'll tear him down. She will tear him down. She doesn't like it. That's the devil. After a revival, you might find yourself with this happening to you. After God is moving, you might find the devil is also on the move. And he doesn't like it. And he's going to tell you. He's not ashamed to tell you. He's not afraid to get in your face and tell you. And she's there to do that work. Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Boy, that lightens our day, doesn't it? Verse 20. She said, how glorious was the king of Israel today. What does she mean? She's like mocking him. It's sarcasm. Oh, the king was so glorious today, like dancing in his underwear. Like that's the kind of king you are. My dad was not that kind of king. Her dad was who? Saul. And there's an implication here. My dad would not do that. My dad would be dressed like a king. My dad would have respect. My dad would follow the protocols. My dad was King Saul. But you, oh, how glorious you were, verse 20, who uncovered himself today in the eyes of the handmaids of his servants, as one of his vain fellows shamelessly uncovers himself. David said unto Michal, and here's his answer. Basically, it is, I don't care about what you say. I don't care about your attitude. I know who I am. I know who God is, and I know who I am, and I know what spirit we are of. I know what is our spirit that's good. I know we have the Spirit of God. Huh? That good answer? He said that. He said it like this. It was before the Lord which chose me before your father. He had to throw that in there. It was before the Lord which chose me. He chose me before your father. Wow. And before all his house to appoint me ruler over the people of the Lord. You got to know who you are. You know, that's a good point. You need to know who you are in Christ. You need to know what spirit you are of. You need to know, you need to have a relationship where you can sense in your heart that God is with you, God is for you. You need that in your heart. This happens in prayer. It happens in your quiet time. It happens in your meditation. Happens in your study. Happens in the church. Happens from the pulpit. That you get built up and you realize this is party time. Like the Lord has ordained for us to have a good spirit, a good life, a life of love, a good life, a life believing God is for me, not against me. I thought of it today. Like to think, I make it small, my life. I make my life small. Like we can't do this or we can't do that or that's not possible or this. And God is wanting to help me enlarge that and have a different attitude or a better attitude. We can reach the city of Baltimore. We can help people find Christ. We can reach the state of Maryland, the East Coast. We can go into all the world. This summer, Laos, our people, Laos, Mongolia, Cambodia, Vietnam, it's already happened. Poland, Camp Life. This week, Uganda. Then the next week, Montenegro. That's happening with our people. It's amazing. It really is. So the Lord is like saying, come on, it's party time. I'm bringing the gospel. I'm forgiving sins. I'm producing TV series called The Chosen. And about 1 billion viewers on that, watching these stories from the Gospels by the grace of God. I am God. I can reach the world with the gospel. I want people to turn to me and come to me and trust me. Wow. So David is saying, he said, I've been appointed the ruler, therefore will I play before the Lord. I will yet be more vile than this. I will be base in my own sight. And of the maidservants which you have spoken of, them shall I be had in honor. I will be had in honor by them. Now, this honor thing is interesting. Remember Nebuchadnezzar? You know the story. I'm going to finish here. You know the story. What happened to him? He was dishonored and became like an animal and lived out in the woods. You know that story, right? Everybody know that? And guess what? That would have stuck with him. Even when he came back to sanity and was a king again, you could easily discredit him. Hey, elbow to your neighbor. Hey, he lived like an animal in the woods for 7 years. Or, hey, you know who he is. But it didn't happen. Do you know what happened? He was restored to honor. He was restored to honor. That can happen. You could go to jail, and that would be dishonorable, but God could honor you. And nobody really thinks about that anymore. It's not even in the mind. We don't really care. You are restored to honor. Somebody has some big problem that's shameful. God restores them to honor. And somehow the people just have honor. And David is saying, I danced out in the street this way, and you think I'm dishonored, but I am honored by those people. I am honored by those people. Isn't that beautiful? That's amazing. And then the last thing was the judgment of God came on that woman, and she had no child unto the day of her death. What is the meaning of that? I don't know. I mean, it's that it is what it is. It says it. It's clear that somehow, like she didn't have that in her life, and it looks like it's very much connected with the spirit that she had about David. There was a judgment that happened on that woman. Go back to David is in it. There is a civil war. He is to be the king. It will happen in God's timing. There will be honor. There will be the blessing. There is the fear of God in it, and there is the joy that you see in the story. Amen.